All right, ready for a deep dive. Today, we're tackling 10 lessons, supposedly from Andrew Tate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's based on this piece called 10 Valuable Lessons to Learn from Andrew Tate Motivation. And I know.
Quite a source.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew Tate, really. But the article claims there's actual insight to be found in his, let's just say, unconventional approach to life.
I see.
So, what do you think? Can we actually get worthwhile ideas from someone so, well, heavily criticized?
You know, it's interesting. It's like a challenge, right? To filter the information and make our own judgment.
Exactly. So, let's unpack these 10 lessons then, but, with a critical eye the whole time.
Yeah.
What do they actually mean? What might this say about self-improvement more broadly? So, first up, self-discipline. The article is all about setting goals, staying focused, those consistent habits.
Right. Classic motivational stuff.
Yeah, like straight off a poster almost. But is that all there is to self-discipline, or is there more to it?
Well, it's definitely the foundation. Think about it. Any area you want to improve.
Right. Like what?
Well, anything. Your career, getting in shape, even learning a new skill. You're going to hit roadblocks, get distracted, feel like giving up. That's where the discipline comes in.
So it bridges the gap between wanting to do something and actually doing it consistently.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's more than just willpower then.
Yeah, it's more like having a system to keep you on track.
Okay.
Yeah, recognizing your own patterns, figuring out what keeps you focused. It's almost like coaching yourself.
Interesting. Okay. Lesson 2 is mental fortitude, and this is where it gets really interesting.
Oh.
Yeah, the article talks about seeing setbacks as, and I quote, stepping stones. They even use this phrase, transmuting them into opportunities for growth.
Almost sounds alchemical, right?
Right. But how do we actually do that? I mean, shift our perspective to see challenges as, well, positive.
It's a mental trick, but a powerful one. I mean, we all face obstacles, but it's how we interpret them that really determines the impact. It's like, have you heard of cognitive reappraisal? It's a therapy technique.
No, I haven't.
Well, it helps people manage negative thoughts. And by reframing, seeing a setback as a chance to grow, we take back control.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So instead of getting stuck on how hard it is, we can choose to focus on what we gain from it.
Exactly. It's not pretending the challenge isn't there, but looking for the lesson in it.
Makes sense. All right, on to lesson 3, lifelong learning. And this one feels super relevant today, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
The article is all about constant development, always learning new skills. It's like Andrew Tate saying, be a student forever.
Lifelong learner.
But with information overload everywhere,
Yeah.
how do we make that actually work?
You know, it's not about absorbing every bit of information, but how you apply it. Like
Right.
building a mental toolkit. You're constantly adding new tools, learning how to use them, figuring out which ones fit which situation.
So it's knowing the right stuff, not just a lot of stuff.
Right, and how to use it effectively. Being curious, diverse viewpoints, always adapting what you know to new situations.
Got it. Unshakable confidence. That's lesson 4. And this one's tricky, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
The article talks about recognizing our, quote, intrinsic worth and really embracing our strengths. But there's so much pressure to compare ourselves, right? How do we build real confidence, the kind that comes from inside?
I think it starts with understanding that confidence, real confidence, isn't about being the best at everything, or meeting everyone else's expectations.
Right.
It's about your own value, independent of what others think. Celebrating what makes you strong, even if it doesn't fit the mold.
So focus on your own progress. Don't play the comparison game.
Exactly. Define success on your own terms. Pursue excellence in what matters to you.
All right, lesson 5 is embracing failure. And now this might seem counterintuitive, but the article actually argues that failing is necessary to reach success.
Interesting.
Yeah, it even calls it, quote, fertile ground for profound learning experiences. But isn't there a difference between failing productively and just, well, failing?
Oh, absolutely. The key is, did you learn from it? Think of it like a scientist doing an experiment.
Yeah.
A failed experiment, it's not a waste of time, it gives you data. Helps refine the hypothesis.
So instead of failure being a weakness, it's about analyzing what went wrong.
Right, and using that to make better choices next time.
Okay, so building resilience, bouncing back, using it to grow.
Exactly.
Right. Entrepreneurial mindset, that's lesson 6. And I think a lot of people, they hear that and they think, oh, starting a business.
Yeah, the classic entrepreneur.
Right, but this article's saying that mindset can apply to anything you do. So what does that mean, really?
It's about taking initiative, being resourceful, being okay with calculated risks. It's about always looking to create value, whether it's in your work, relationships, personal projects, anything.
So, like, if you apply those principles to, say, planning a family vacation.
Oh, great example. You'd be researching, finding creative solutions on a budget, ultimately creating a memorable experience.
So it's a way of approaching things, not just about starting a company.
Yeah, it's being proactive, solution-oriented, taking ownership, and driving positive change.
Okay, I'm starting to see how these lessons connect, like they're building blocks for, I don't know, a more fulfilling life or something.
Exactly. And the next few, they really solidify that connection.
Oh, can't wait. So lesson 7 is holistic well-being, and it focuses on physical health.
Right. The classic health is wealth.
Yeah, but it feels like it goes deeper than just diet and exercise.
It's recognizing that everything's connected, Your physical state, mental, emotional, they all play a role.
Okay.
How you eat, how you move, how you deal with stress, it all impacts your well-being, your ability to handle, well, life.
It's like your whole self is a system, and you got to make sure all the parts are working together, right?
Exactly. And it doesn't need to be complicated. Little changes in your routine over time, that's where the magic happens.
Okay, makes sense. Lesson 8 is financial acumen. And again, this feels like it's going beyond just making money.
Yeah, it's deeper than that.
Yeah, it's about understanding how money really works, using that knowledge to make good decisions.
It's empowering. Like, think about credit cards.
Oh, yeah.
If you know how they work, you use them to your advantage, you don't fall into debt.
Right, right.
Same with budgeting, saving, investing, all of it.
So it's about taking charge instead of feeling like money's controlling you.
Exactly. It's building those healthy habits for more security, opening up opportunities to chase your passions.
Makes sense. Okay, we're on to lesson 9, cherishing individuality. And this one feels big, especially today when there's so much pressure to conform.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
The article actually says to, quote, wholeheartedly embrace our idiosyncrasies. But how do we actually celebrate what makes us different when it feels like everyone's trying to fit in?
Well, it's about realizing that your unique qualities, those are your strengths, not weaknesses. It's about knowing your values, following your own interest, expressing yourself authentically.
Even if it's different.
Especially if it's different. Think of anyone you admire for being original, for being bold. They didn't get there by blending in.
Right, right.
It's being true to yourself, even if you stand out.
Okay, love it. Last one, lesson 10, cultivating a positive mindset.
The classic positive thinking.
Right. The article talks about gratitude, visualization, affirmations, all that. But beyond feeling good, what are the actual benefits?
Well, a positive mindset, it's not just about happiness. It's a tool for challenges, for achieving goals.
Okay.
Research even shows people who are more positive, they tend to be more resilient, more creative, even healthier.
Wow, really?
Yeah. So it's training your mind to focus on solutions, believe in overcoming obstacles, see the good in every situation.
Optimism, but with like a healthy dose of reality, right?
Exactly. Actively shaping your thoughts to support your growth, your well-being.
Okay, so we've covered a lot here. 10 lessons, from self-discipline to finances to embracing who you are.
Yeah, quite a range.
Before we go further, what stands out to you as the most powerful takeaway from this first look at Tate's so-called wisdom?
It's fascinating that even though it's all coming from, well, him, these ideas are still about universal principles of self-improvement.
Right.
It's like a reminder that wisdom, it can come from the most unexpected places.
You've hit the nail on the head. We've got the ideas, but now, well, we got to talk about the elephant in the room, right?
Oh, yeah.
The controversy around Andrew Tate himself, that's coming up in part 2.
Can't wait.
Stay tuned.
Back to our deep dive into, well, Andrew Tate's supposed wisdom, those 10 lessons from that 10 Valuable Lessons article.
Yeah.
We explored some interesting ideas, but now we got to address the elephant in the room, right?
The controversy.
Yeah, I mean, his views on everything, masculinity, women, success, it's all sparked so much debate.
Oh, yeah, even legal issues.
Exactly. Some people, they see him as a role model. Others, well, they say he's downright dangerous.
It's a wide range. It really is. And it makes this tricky, right? We found some potentially useful ideas, but can we really separate that from, well, from him?
Right, the message versus the messenger.
Yeah, can we take something positive from a source that's this polarizing?
The million-dollar question.
It is. It makes you think about where information comes from, right?
Absolutely.
How someone's personal baggage, well, how that might influence what they say, even if the ideas sound good on the surface. It's like, have you ever heard a great song on the radio, then found out the artist, well, They've done some messed up things.
Oh, yeah, all the time.
And suddenly it's hard to listen to that song the same way.
Exactly. It changes your whole perception.
Right. So how do we navigate that? How do we approach something like this from someone like Andrew Tate without, blindly accepting everything, but also not just rejecting it all outright?
That's the challenge.
It is. It feels like a tightrope walk. On one hand, we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Right?
Right.
Good advice can come from anywhere, potentially. But then we also don't want to endorse harmful ideas or give a platform to someone with, dangerous views.
It's a balance, for sure.
Yeah, no easy answer. But I think the key is, approaching everything with a healthy dose of skepticism.
Oh, absolutely. Critical thinking. Essential.
Right. We need to look at the ideas themselves, separate from the guy presenting them. So it's like putting on our detective hats, examining the evidence. What are we even looking for?
One big thing is understanding bias.
Okay.
Everyone has a perspective, right? A lens they see the world through. Knowing their background, their experiences, their motivations, all that, it helps us interpret the message.
So with Andrew Tate, we'd consider his own experiences, his business background, all his controversial stuff, and how that might color, how he presents these lessons.
Exactly. Not assuming he's got bad intentions, but understanding the context. It's like reading a news article. You want to know who wrote it, what their biases might be.
To really get it.
Exactly. Okay, so bias, that's key. What else do we got to keep in mind
When we're looking at information from a source like this that's controversial?
Cross-referencing is huge.
Okay.
Don't rely on just one source. Look for other perspectives, different opinions, even opposing views. It helps you get the whole picture, see the gaps, the inconsistencies in the original message.
So don't just take Tate's word for it on, self-discipline.
Yeah.
See what psychologists say, philosophers, other successful people. Where do the ideas overlap? Where do they clash?
Exactly. It's about building a map, not just following one path.
Makes sense.
And as you're doing that, pay attention to your own reactions, too.
You mean like if something feels off?
Yeah, if it rubs you the wrong way, ask yourself why.
Okay.
Those strong feelings, they can be valuable, They might show you where you need to dig deeper, do more research, or even challenge your own assumptions.
So don't shut down those feelings. Use them as a guide to investigate more.
Exactly.
And honestly, I think the most important thing is being willing to talk to people who disagree with you.
Oh, have a dialogue.
Yeah, respectful dialogue. We can learn so much from perspectives that challenge our own.
It's tempting to stay in our own little bubbles.
Oh, totally.
But those tough conversations, even if they're uncomfortable, that's how we grow, right?
Absolutely. It's like testing your ideas out in the world, getting feedback, seeing if they hold up.
So bringing it back to Tate and these 10 lessons,
Yeah.
we got to be critical, do our own research, and be ready to have those tough conversations about the ideas, even if we don't like where they came from.
You got it. And that leads to a big question.
Okay, what's that?
Even if we find some value in these lessons, does that mean we're endorsing or excusing the bad stuff, the potentially harmful parts of Tate's message?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
It is.
I don't know if I have an answer for that yet.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
It's a question worth thinking about, not about easy answers, but about really reflecting, coming to our own conclusions.
Well said. This is getting pretty deep. In part 3, we'll circle back to those 10 lessons and see how we can actually apply them to our own lives while keeping in mind all these ethical, complexities.
It'll be an interesting exploration.
Stay with us. Welcome back. It's the final part of our deep dive. We've gone through those 10 lessons, supposedly from Andrew Tate.
Quite the journey.
It has been. We talked about the controversy, the man himself.
Right.
But now the big question, where do we go from here? How do we use any of this, knowing, everything we know now?
It's a real challenge, isn't it? Because we might find some of those lessons actually useful.
Yeah.
But we don't want to be supporting, someone whose views are so problematic.
Right. How do we even reconcile that?
Tough question.
It feels like walking a tightrope, honestly. Take that first lesson, self-discipline.
Yeah.
The article makes it sound like the key to everything. But is it really that simple? I mean, haven't there been plenty of people super disciplined who never reach their goals? And maybe some who even use that discipline, for bad things.
You've hit the nail on the head. It's like self-discipline's a tool, right? Powerful, but it can be used in different ways. Think of a surgeon. Incredible discipline, but it's their ethics, their intention, that decides if they use that skill to help or to hurt.
So it's not just having it, but how you apply it ethically towards goals that, well, that match your values.
Exactly. And that goes for all of these lessons, really.
Okay.
We got to look at the idea itself, sure, but also how it fits with our own moral compass, our own idea of success.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, but it's also kind of daunting.
Oh, yeah.
Like, how do I even know if I'm using these things the right way?
There's no easy answer, but that's where, critical thinking is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Constantly questioning, reflecting, checking in with yourself.
Okay.
It's like imagine you're learning to cook from a recipe book, right? You don't just blindly follow everything. You taste as you go, adjust the seasoning, maybe even swap out ingredients to suit you.
Oh, I love that analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're not just taking these lessons as they are, we're experimenting, making them our own.
Exactly.
Okay, so taking ownership, being critical, doing our own research. What about the other lessons? Can we approach them the same way?
Oh, absolutely. Take mental fortitude. That idea of reframing setbacks, seeing them as opportunities, that's valuable, but it needs context. Sometimes a setback is telling you to change course completely.
So it's not just about pushing through no matter what.
Right. It's about using it to figure out, are you even on the right path?
Okay.
And remember, embracing failure.
Yeah.
That was tricky. Not all failures are the same. Some are like stepping stones, others are warning signs.
Oh, so we got to figure out which ones to really lean into and which ones to learn from and move on.
Exactly. And even cherishing individuality. Strong concept, but it doesn't mean you disregard, being a decent person.
Right. So individuality, but within like an ethical framework.
Exactly. And even with positive mindset, there's nuance there. It's not about ignoring problems or pretending everything's perfect. It's about approaching things with a solution-oriented attitude.
Focus on what you can control.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you see, even these seemingly simple lessons, they can be applied in so many ways. It all depends on you.
Right. Your values, your goals, all that.
It's like we've been given a toolbox, but we get to decide how we use those tools.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes this whole thing, well, it makes it feel less about Andrew Tate and more about like figuring out our own path.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so interesting. We started with him, analyzed everything critically, and now we've got this framework for growth that each person can adapt.
It's like the whole deep dive became a lesson in itself about thinking critically and taking responsibility.
I'd say so. And that's pretty valuable, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. So to wrap this up, what's the biggest lesson for you personally from all of this?
It's a reminder that even in controversy, even from the most unexpected places, we can still find bits of wisdom. But we have to be smart about it, think for ourselves, and own how we use those ideas.
Really well said. And that's the beauty of a deep dive, isn't it?
Yeah.
We started with 10 lessons from Andrew Tate, and we ended up with, well, a whole new way of looking at information, making choices, even just becoming better people.
It's been great diving deep with you.
Same here. And to everyone listening, thanks for joining us. Remember, the source for all this was that article, 10 Valuable Lessons to Learn from Andrew Tate Motivation. We encourage you to read it, think about it, come to your own conclusions. Until next time, keep diving deep.